Hey yo, I am the star in any room that I stand in. I am the standout, you just my stand-in. These bitches copy my homework, that's what they hand in. That's why I'm private like the airports I land in. Life is a beach house, don't let the sand in. I ball in any arena, go let the fans in.
What's up, y'all? I hope all is well. So in this podcast, I want to respond to this tweet that I happened to come across somewhere, her feelings and comfortability when wearing her natural hair. And I thought that this was a really important topic to touch on, especially considering like the experience that I've had with my natural hair and how I've talked about it on my channel and things like that. So hopefully in this video I can not provide advice, because I don't give advice, but maybe talk about my journey and how I kind of overcame these feelings, and like, lend a helping hand to other Black women trying to become more comfortable wearing their natural hair and things like that, because it is a real experience. It is a real thing for Black women and women who have curly hair in general, of all races, honestly, of just being comfortable with wearing your hair curly. It seems like it's just a Black woman thing and it's stereotyped in that way, but it's really across cultures that curly hair is stereotyped as unkept or messy, or just not ideal. Even if you look at our, like, how curly hair is portrayed in pop culture and portrayed in the media, and how like in the early 2000s they would do like a quote-unquote makeover on these girls and their hair would go from like quote-unquote curly or frizzy to straight and blonde or something like that, or even if these girls stayed brunettes, whatever it was, or the brunette with curly hair was always like the sidekick or something like that. Like, they definitely stereotyped even women with curly hair of all races a certain way in the past, and that idea still carries on. So if you were little at that time, those feelings still can still permeate your mind and still affect you. And so that's a real thing. And so it's been really interesting for me to hear other women of other races on social media talk about how that was their experience as well, because when you are a woman of African descent, you do feel very isolated in your experience, because one, you are kind of taunted and made fun of for it, because people stereotype Black women as not liking their curly natural hair, when that's actually an experience that's pretty common across the board with a lot of people of color, whether they have quote-unquote wavy hair or curly hair naturally, but it's still like kind of loose, whatever it is. Like, that's a very real thing. Like, I had no idea that even in the Philippines, like, that's even a thing, and that there are a lot of Filipinos that have curly hair and they straighten it. Like, even my friend who's from the Philippines was telling me about this. Like, I had no idea, and I recently saw a girl's video talking about it. So it's just like, this is an experience that a lot of women, not only women of color but even white women, have as well, just curly hair girlies in general. So I do want to shed light on that, and I have been like posting like a lot of like reels and TikToks and shit about that. And that's one of the reasons why I have, because when I was younger, I did feel very isolated in those feelings. It felt like I'm just the weird one, and like, oh, all these other races of girls or like other hair textures, they they feel more comfortable and I'm just the weirdo. Like, that's really how I felt. So when you hear that, like, this is a pretty normal experience and normal developmental process that a lot of women of color specifically have had to go through because of the way society is. It's really interesting to look at. So that's something I want to talk about in this podcast when I respond to this girl's post. So let's get into it. But of course, in response to the original tweet and my own personal life experiences, this video will revolve around Afro hair and that whole curly hair experience. So buckle in, let's get into it. So I first want to start off by mentioning what this girl's handle is on X. So, and I'm pointing this out for a reason, but I'm going to elaborate on why it's important later. But so this woman, whose Twitter handle is everything is about race. So she goes on to say, I do not like my natural hair. The styles that were practical for me did not make me feel beautiful. I tried to embrace it. I failed. I lived with the truth that my perception of my hair is rooted in and clouded by anti-Blackness. I think we conflate seeing the beauty in Black hair with seeing the beauty in our own Black hair with our own heads. I admire women who wear their natural hair in styles that are suitable for Afro textures. but I do not have the courage or confidence to do it for myself. Many of us are in such severe denial about why our hair isn't our default style choice. So I'm going to respond to this segment by segment because there is a lot to unpack here. But so first I'm going to start off with her mentioning how she says she does not like her hair and that the styles that were practical for her did not make her feel beautiful. She tried to embrace it, but in her opinion failed, and then she had to live with the truth that her perception of her hair is rooted in and clouded by anti-blackness. So I'm going to work backwards when responding to this segment of the tweets because I kind of feel like she kind of worked backwards like in this process of loving your natural hair, because she started off the message by saying, I don't like my hair and the styles that were practical for me did not make me feel beautiful. So she already kind of started off at like somewhat of a negative note or had already kind of started from this like defeatist place, I think, as where I feel like she, in the process of loving your natural hair naturally, you have to work backwards in this process, as where you can kind of see, like, I'm not going to say that she kind of entered it into it doomed to fail, but I feel like fixing your mindset first is the first step before you actually can do anything to your hair. So you have to fix your mindset before you fix your hair. If that makes sense. Like, and like for me, I'm not trying to sound like a natural snob or anything like that, but like because I always had natural hair, I never had to work in the process in reverse of loving it. I kind of just had to like deal with what I was dealing with and just learn to be more comfortable with it and like it more, and to where it was, I felt better about it myself, and I didn't still have these like defeatist mindset like mentalities towards my hair in the same way that I'm saying that this girl did. But I never had a style that I was comfortable with and had to like grow out of to become comfortable with my natural hair. Does that make sense? Like basically, like since I always had it, I basically had to learn to value it. I didn't have to learn to, and it's not even that I didn't have to learn to be comfortable with it, because I did, but it's I don't know, it's different when you maybe grew up getting your hair permed or grew up getting your hair straightened, and so that's also what you're used to and you're comfortable with. And so there's also a level of, now there's a lifestyle change as well, because when you have a perm or when you're getting your hair blow dry consistently, that is a part of your lifestyle and you're not in the habit and of the routine of doing your own natural hair. And so there's a lot of lifestyle and mentality changes that come with going from perming your hair, getting your hair straightened consistently, to wearing a natural, which is a whole process in itself and a whole like, you know, de-learning, decolonizing your mind process that I didn't really have to go through it or deal with. And I'm not saying that again in an elitist way, because unfortunately there are a lot of natural hair snobs online, so I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that. I'm just speaking like that's his own experience that I respect, that I'm not qualified to like give advice on, because I don't know what that was like. And I really feel like with the natural hair movement, I'm gonna be honest with you, the natural hair movement was really for those types of women, because like my mom, she had dreadlocks since the early 90s. So, and she was, listen, I could do a whole video just about how my mom was treated in the Midwest having dreadlocks in the 90s, in the 2000s. She was treated horrible. So if I'm telling you as a child how I was treated, you can only imagine how my mom was treated when bitches was still running around with the tight little roller rods and, you know, the moose sets and shit like that. Like, can you imagine? But anyway, like this was long before dreads were cool. Mind you, these are the same chicks' mamas that are now running around with wigs. Those are their mamas. The ones that was talking crazy and being disrespectful to my mom for having dreads, their daughters are the ones that wear the wig 24/7 now. And I know that sounds like a snobby comment, but come on, I gotta be shady. It's fair. I gotta get my little licks in. Come on, it's all in good fun. But I'm making a point of that the cycle continues. The cycle continues. So even though I went through it and I had a hard time growing up because my natural hair, and my mom also got it growing up also, even when she had me, at the same time, it built a certain level of confidence, a certain level of appreciation for my hair, a certain level of, you know, now it's like I'm an adult and I can deal with adult feelings and not have to deal with my hair, because unfortunately, like, that shouldn't be something that an adult black woman should be burdened with. That is the fault of in my opinion, that is the fault of black mothers. If you didn't teach your daughter to do her natural hair, she's reliant on a chemical or on some type of heat or on a hairdresser to maintain and take care of her hair. That's a problem. It's one thing if you invest in your daughter to get her hair done consistently, but there's a lot of black girls who don't know how to do their hair, or they weren't taught to take care of their hair, and they're reliant on chemicals and heat or wigs and things like that. And that's something that their mother should have taught them. So it's nothing wrong with doing a wig or wearing your hair straightened or getting a perm. I mean, you shouldn't get a perm, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a judgmental person. Do what you want. Like, I wear wigs too. I get my hair straightened too. I'm probably gonna get a wash and set soon myself. So I want to make that very clear. I always change up my hair and switch it up. But the difference is, like, I just have to be honest, psychologically, for a child, and I don't have kids, but just my recommendation, from if you have a daughter and you want her to be natural, it might be hard and she might fight you on it and be resistant on it. But you really, as a little girl, you have to let little black girls wear their hair naturally and just do them the natural styles, the excessive straightening it, the added extensions. Even be careful with that. Even with the braids, that even could get like, I really don't even feel like little girls should have extensions in the hair until they like maybe 13, 14, honestly. And then only just a little braid, a little curl at the end. That's it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, bring back little black girls having the little beads and barrettes in their hair and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, a little girl should not be reliant on straight hair or seeing her hair straightened, because unfortunately that's probably the experience this girl that made the tweet had. And I don't want to make generalizations on people online because I don't know them or their upbringing. I don't want to say anything like that, but the fact that she started off the tweet in that way, and it's this whole kind of conversation is focused around styling and how it looks. It's not really about health. It's not about the length of the hair. It's very much about the appearance of the hair. That tells me a lot. And from my experience, that's black women's main concern and main issue. It really is the appearance of the hair. People think like, oh, you're bald headed, you can't grow hair, your hair is this and that. No, I would honestly say nowadays, especially because most black women and girls are not getting perms anymore, most black women and girls do have hair. Is that they don't feel comfortable wearing it in the styles that go along with their hair texture, just like this girl is saying. So I feel like that's a complete stereotype now that black girls don't. I mean, and they're not that many people who are saying it, but you get what I mean. Like, it's a everlasting stereotype that's been around. But that, I don't even think the problem at this point is a length thing. It is to a degree where is that, oh, well, they want natural hair that looks like long down to their hip bone and long and curly and stuff like that, which you can get that with afro hair, but it's going to take you 10 years. You can't stop wearing wigs after 5 years and then think your hair is going to just drop down, behind your boob. That's not how it works. Like, that takes time to grow out your hair. So it can be done. It's just takes time to do that. And that's why I'm saying that this girl is working backwards. If you're hyper fixated on how the hair is being styled and how it looks and things like that, that's a whole different issue. So I feel like for a lot of black women and girls today, like Gen Zs and younger millennials, the issue is about styling. It's not even about normalizing natural hair at this point, or convincing people that natural hair and curly hair is beautiful. We're past that. That's why when people were outraged and getting triggered over 𝙎𝙼 saying most men don't like curly hair, it's like, okay, I like 𝙎𝙼 a lot. Like, that's my girl. I watch her consistently. But like, a lot of stuff she says is not really, that's kind of older woman mentality. It's not really up to date today. So I don't really even believe that's not really even the case anymore. Like, I wear my hair natural consistently, and I'm constantly getting attention from all races of men and even women. So I don't know where that was even coming from. That's why I was like, why do y'all care so much about what people say online when you can go outside and see that that's not the reality? Mind you, wasn't black women just complaining, saying that black men was fetishizing Ice Spice and complaining about how much men love Ice Spice, and all races of men be thirsting over Ice Spice, and Ice Spice has a very natural hair type for afro. So at this point, we can't even use the excuse anymore that people don't see curly hair or natural hair as beautiful, because that's proven to be false. So that's not even an excuse anymore, honestly. So yeah, we just need to be honest that the problem is the styling. I don't even think the issue is that black women genuinely don't think that men in general or black men specifically don't like curly hair. It's really a styling thing. Like, y'all wouldn't be complaining about black men liking all these curly hair biracial girls if y'all truly believe that men don't like curly hair. Anyway, going back to the tweet. So, like I said, this girl is kind of working backwards with her mentality. So, I'm going to respond to it from the back end. So, she says at the end of her tweet that, well, the end of the first part of her tweet, she says that she had realized that her perception of her hair is rooted in anti-blackness and clouded by that, and that she tried to accept it. And why I'm saying that she's working backwards is because the process of learning to love your hair, learning to appreciate it, unlearning anti-blackness, not letting these like Eurocentric ideas of desirability cloud your judgment and, you know, your perception of self, that all of that is a learning process. All of that takes time. I did not come out the womb and just felt amazing about my hair. It took me a long time to come to this point and feel the way I do right now. This is honestly a more recent thing within my life, within the last like 5 or 6 years. Honestly, this is not, I am in no way or no means trying to promote myself as some type of natural hair guru who always freaking love their hair so much. Like, no, I'm talking about this based on my experience, you know, how I've overcome from it. So it takes a long time. It took me most of my life to come to this conclusion. So just based on how she's talking, I can tell she didn't spend a lot of time not only like doing personal internal therapy about her hair, but also, you know, maybe actually going to some type of counseling, talking to somebody, you know, talking to other women, listening to content about it that's positive, to content about styling their hair. Honestly, sometimes you have to re-brainwash yourself. I basically did this into what how you feel about yourself. You need to, like, sometimes, like, yeah, like I'm saying, brainwash yourself. Like, something I did, I'm gonna be honest with you, I started a whole new Instagram account right after I graduated high school, and I basically only follow like black women blogs and blogs with black women wearing their natural hair and positive images, like, you know, black girl luxury stuff and, you know, all that type of stuff. And I basically only followed that, and that's all I was saying, and it really did help me you know, view natural hair as more elegant and feel more comfortable. And like, this is gonna sound like a minor step, but like, I'm to the point where I almost always go to the club with my afro, or go to special events with my hair natural and things like that. And that might sound minuscule, but for a lot of black women, they would never do that. And there was even a time when I would feel like, oh man, I'm going out, or, you know, my friend's birthday dinner's coming up, whatever, I need to get a wig, or I need to get my hair straightened or something. And just randomly one weekend, I was just like, bro, I don't feel like doing that. I don't feel like putting on a wig. I don't feel like braiding my hair, doing it, going to the salon, nothing. I'm just gonna go with my afro. And ever since then, that was kind of like 4 years ago. Yeah, like almost 3 years ago. So half the time that I've actually been like feeling good about my hair, I started doing that. And yeah, and you feel so much more stress free, and it's so freeing. But that is a process that takes time. So moving on to like the top part of what she says, when she says the styles that were practical for her didn't make her feel beautiful, that just goes back to what I'm saying. It, number one, it takes time to find the styles that are comfortable for you. It takes time to find what you enjoy, what works where with your hair texture, with the products and things like that. And you can easily like go on Google, find a picture of a girl of any race with any hair texture that you like, and figure out how to do it on yourself. It's gonna be difficult. It's not even gonna be difficult. It's gonna, you know, take paying attention and take a little time to figure it out, but you can do it. So you can find hair textures that look like yours, especially if you live in the United States. Like, there, in a major city, you really don't have no excuse. And if you live in the East Coast, forget about it. You got all the beauty supply stores in the world to choose from that got all types of different hair. And if black women start buying kinky, coily hair as extensions, they will start putting in the stores, because these people are thirsty and hungry for money. So they're gonna sell whatever you want. It's supply and demand, capitalist market. You know, it ain't nothing personal. I don't think they personally care what hair texture you're wearing. They just want to make sure you finna buy it. So if you're showing them that you're finna buy the Indian woman's hair and the quote unquote Brazilian yaki or whatever the hell, and the wavy shit, that's what they're going to buy there, and, you know, have in supply. They're not going to buy the conga line or the, you know, type 4 hair, the Marley hair, whatever, if y'all not buying it. Like, that's just what it is. So the mindset really needs to change. And so yeah, like, I'm one of those people. I am not against added hair. A lot of natural hair women, they act weird and snobby about added hair. I don't have an issue with natural hair. I mean, added hair or extensions or anything like that. My problem is that if the extensions never look like your hair, or they don't match, or you feel dependent on wearing a hair texture that's very different from your own, that's where the problems come in, psychologically and physically for your hair, because it's manipulating your hair. So you're going to inevitably damage it over time because you're manipulating it to get a certain texture, and you're psychologically harming yourself because you're constantly sending a message to your brain that you only look good with this hair texture that don't look like you. So subconsciously you telling yourself, naturally, I don't look good enough, or I don't look cute, I gotta wear this other hair texture. That's the problem with always feeling the need to get your hair straightened or wear a wig when you go to these special events. Why you gotta put a wig on to go to the club? Why you gotta put a wig on to go to your friend's birthday dinner? Like, what is that going to do? Like, what is that going to impact or affect? So you even have to wonder, why would a woman who naturally has curly hair even repeat or say something about a man not liking curly hair? Why would you even put that idea in the atmosphere? Like, you really have to wonder about, like, the psychological state of black women when they say certain things and when they behave in certain ways and they find certain things as being beautiful. You really gotta, like, look at it. It's not a minuscule thing. They'll try to make it seem like, oh, it's not a big deal, it's just, it is what it is, it's the society. No. You create your reality, especially when you have the internet. Please. Please. So yeah, a lot of this is learned helplessness on the part of black women too, and that's kind of how I feel about this tweet as well. So anyway, I want to start going a little faster, but let's move on to the next part of her tweet. So then she says, I think we conflate seeing beauty in black hair with seeing beauty in our own black hair on our own heads. I admire women who wear their hair in styles that are suitable for Afro textures, but I do not have the courage or the confidence to do so myself. And honestly, I think that this part and the last part of what she said in the tweet was the most powerful and authentic part of her tweet. Honestly, she should have just left it to these parts, in my opinion, because I feel like the first part of the tweet, it kind of exposed the real motive behind her tweet, which, in my opinion, if styling or not feeling confident or beautiful in the hair texture, if that is the driving force of why you're making the comment, I do think that is I do think that is admirable, to be vulnerable and share that with other black women and be real about that. But at the same time, I'm gonna be honest with you, the first part of the tweet, it still comes off as like these excuses of why we still continue to lean on the wig or the manipulation of the hair that is not our hair texture, because you can get a wig that's a bust down, that's straight, that has like kinky hair that's blown out. And again, I want to make it very clear, I really do not care and really am in support of whatever hair style black women want to wear. If you want to wear a blonde, Dolly Parton bust down or bust up, whatever, that's great. You want to, get your little Gina curl, that's cool. They're really pretty. You want to wear, your small 4C afro, beautiful, whatever. You want to do a little fade, or some box braids, whatever. I think it's all beautiful. I've tried pretty much almost every style except for cutting my shit. That ain't happening. But but like, I'm always in support of that. But I'm more so speaking of and I'm not qualified to speak about anything psychological at all, but I mean, I do work in ethnic studies, so I can't say. It does say something about a group of people who don't feel comfortable about wearing their natural hair texture that comes out of their head. That's not really the case for any other group of people. So it's not about nitpicking or trying to micromanage other black women or trying to hate or, trying to gatekeep, hairstyles from other black women, stuff like that. It's more so about, like, that is a real thing. That is a real issue if you physically cannot, feel comfortable going outside in your hair. That's really a problem. And I'm not saying it in a way to shame anybody, but I'm more so saying in a way that this is something that we need to get a hold on, to mentally and psychologically feel better, because I feel like this is more of a mental thing, and it negatively contributes to your quality of life, because not only are you spending a long time and I'm mostly speaking about the wigs, because that's the most common hairstyle today. Black women are not really getting perms and wash and sets like that anymore. So it's like you're spending a lot of time doing these hairstyles. You're spending a lot of physical time doing it, wasting time in life where you could be doing other stuff or other hobbies. Two, a lot of Black women, whether they're being honest about this or not, will miss out on opportunities, or not go to stuff, or not do stuff, or not swim, or not stay overnight somewhere, whatever, or not attend a pool party or whatever, because of their hair. I personally know, I've heard about that in my family and have friends that did that. So that's a real thing. So they will limit their opportunities because of their hair, because they don't want to get their hair messed up. Or, oh, I spent so much money on it. Oh, I'm in Jamaica, but I spent so much money on my wig, I don't want to get my hair messed up. Why the fuck would you go to a beach with a wig on? Like, you know how much I see that when I see these girls trips and I see a whole bunch of weave. Like, I'm sorry, I find that mad cringe. Like, you cannot tell me you're genuinely enjoying yourself in the hot tub, in the water, in Cancun, whatever, and you got to worry about your wig. You couldn't even at least get braids. like at least get you could get braids. You could get a crown at the top and get weave in the back, and you could still have your I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. And I'm not saying it from a judgmental way. I'm saying because I have been liberated from the insecurity of your hair and things like that. So I want that for you. Step into the light with me. Take the pink pill. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's all it is. But when people know that what you're saying is correct, they'll get defensive and say, oh, well, this just makes me feel comfortable, or this is just easy and I tried it, and or you're being judgmental, or why do you care what people are wearing and things like that. No, it's not even about that. It's just about that regardless of what people say, historically the way you wear your hair wherever you are has been a reflection of culture, and the way that these people feel about themselves signifies signifies who they are, culturally, how they feel about themselves, things. There's a lot deeper stuff to the whole hair thing. And other people pick up on that, which is why they kind of antagonize Black women about the wigs. So would you rather hear this from me, or hear this from somebody who doesn't mean well and has not lived, that experience? But again, I do appreciate her vulnerability, where she talks about not having the courage or confidence to wear her natural hair in Afro texture styles for herself. I think that that's a real and raw statement that a lot of women can relate to. And I think that if you can just come to that conclusion for yourself, and you can accept that within yourself, you don't have to start wearing your hair the next day, in a tiny ice spice. You don't have to, an afro or something like that, or just completely do a big chop or whatever. You don't have to do that. This is a process that takes time. It's an evolution, mentally, physically, spiritually, all that stuff. It's a lot that goes into it. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen within a month. It's not going to happen within a year. Shit, I'm still dealing with this 25 years plus in my life. I'm still dealing with this shit, even though I'm in a better place now, and I feel a lot more confident, and I appreciate my hair and like doing different styles, and I'm feeling good about where I am in terms of loving my hair. But it's still a learning process. It's still things that I'm still having to unlearn. I've just now in the last few years, like 2 or so years, got out of always having to lay my edges. Like, I had this whole thing where I always wanted to have my edges done. If I was wearing my hair in a puff or something like that, or like in a slick back bun, my edges had to be done. Mind you, the way my hair is, my edges already kind of lay. But if they wasn't like laid, like, I didn't want to wear them. So it's like, even when you have a certain hair texture that unfortunately some people with internalized texturism might fetishize, you can still have these insecurities about your hair. It's like, oh, my hair is not slicked down. Oh, my bun looks messy. Oh, I gotta, I don't feel like it gotta be done. I still want my hair, whether, you know, regardless, my hair is curly. So if you have curly hair and you have to have your edges glued down to your head and slick back, you know, it's super straight, you're still manipulating your hair and feeling the most comfortable about yourself when your hair looks in an opposite way that it looks naturally. Like, regardless, like, why does your hair need to look like an Indian woman's bun for you to feel comfortable? Like, why can't you have your mixed girl magic curls, you know, in the front and your baby hairs, like, and your natural baby hairs? Why gotta be all this slick shit? So, you know, that's even something that I've had to like unlearn for myself. So being honest about that with yourself is half the battle. So I do commend her on that. So I don't want to seem like I'm being harsh on just like coming at this girl, because I don't even know how she wears her hair. So, you know, I just want to be clear on speaking very general. But I also want to, before I wrap this up, want to comment on the first part of this middle section where she says, I think we conflate seeing beauty in black hair with seeing beauty in our own black hair or in our own heads. And I actually agree with that. I see where she's coming from, even though unfortunately this does kind of speak to the like rules for thee, but no, sorry, rules for thee, but no rules for me type mentality that kind of is within black female culture. Like, oh, you should do that, you should conduct yourself like that, you should handle your life like that, you should wear your hair like that, but I'm not going to, but it's not good for me. Like, oh, that's great for you, but I'm not gonna do it. I see why it should be done, I see why it's important, but I'm not gonna do it. You know, like, that's very common amongst black women. So that's kind of part of it. But I also completely do see where she's coming from, because like, even when I was still like in a funk about my hair and I still didn't really like see the like value it, I never projected my internalized texturism or my negative feelings about my black hair. I never projected that onto other black people. I never made negative comments about other black people's hair. I never thought they looked ugly, or like, oh, she looks fucked up, she looked bad, oh, why her hair not done, why her hair not straight. I never felt that way. I never had those internal feelings. I'm gonna be honest with you, I more so felt a level of shame for wearing my hair natural. That's really how I felt. A lot of it wasn't even about, looking back, it wasn't even so much about my hair texture or how I really felt about my hair. Really, I hadn't really grappled much or thought much about my feelings about my hair. I never really thought much about it. I kind of tried to put it at the back of my head, but I realized the real problem was how people were treating me, and how the comments people would say, and the way that people would put pressure for it to be quote unquote done or contained or slicked back or laid. Kind of like what I'm saying now is still this insecurity that a lot of black women have, that their hair needs to be quote unquote done, which is, i.e., straightened or under a wig. That is really where those feelings come from. So I get it. So I'm not saying this out of like not having empathy or anything. I definitely get it. But yeah, just because you might have internal negative feelings about your own natural hair does not mean that you inherently think natural hair is ugly or bad, and that you trying to make other black women and other black people in general feel negative about it. Why do you think it's always a broad with a wig on talking about how she loves dreadheads? Chicks that wear wigs are the main people who are constantly talking about how they want a dreadhead. And again, that goes back to the rules for thee but not rules for me mentality of black women, because it's kind of like, oh, I love natural hair on a man, but I don't love natural hair on myself, which that's a whole video in itself. Shit, I might fire that video up next and record that, because that's a whole video. But a lot of black women like natural hair on black men, but they don't like natural hair on themselves. I can even speak from myself when I was a little girl. Them Corbin Blue looking ass niggas, them, you know, light skinned niggas with curly hair, especially if it was light or something like that, you know, them them dudes that look like you know, from the Mindless Behavior and, you know, B2K and stuff like that, Little Fizz and shit like that. Like, that was definitely my type when I was little. So I liked boys with hair, but I didn't want my hair to be out. I didn't want to wear an afro for myself. I wasn't about to wear my hair slick back like Lil Fizz. Like, I wasn't about to run around like Corbin Blue. Like, that's just me though. Like, you was not gonna catch me looking like Ray Ray. Like, no. So a lot of black women, they like natural hair on black men. They like natural hair. They think it's cute on little black girls. They like when they see little girls with, you know, beads and shit like that. But they wouldn't wear their hair like that. So it's this weird and it's not weird because I get it. I understand, like I'm saying, because it is like, it's exactly what this girl's saying. You see the beauty in afro hair or black hair, but because of the way you feel like you might be treated in society, or just because you haven't unlearned and you're still in the process of unlearning these negative feelings about your hair, you might still feel uncomfortable with it. And feeling comfortable with what you have on or how you look, or your makeup and things like that, that's very important for women to be like well adjusted people, and to show up well in their lives and in society. So if you don't feel comfortable with something that naturally comes from you, and the way you naturally wake up in the morning, post non-wigged, then there's definitely something there that should be worked on, no matter what your age is. But anyway, I've pretty much said all I need to say about this topic. But I do want to close out with restating the last part of her tweet, because again, I did, I gave my strong opinions on her comments, but I do commend her for this post. I do think it takes courage to be honest about this. I even feel like I don't even know if I could be this honest just naturally about like what I've went through with my natural hair. So I do appreciate this post. So anyway, the end of what she said was that many of us are in such severe denial about our natural hair, about why our natural hair isn't our default style choice. And I completely agree. And I mean, it's just ditto to everything I've already said in the video. So I don't really need to expand more on this portion. But yeah, it really is unfortunate. And internally, a lot of black women really are in denial about feeling comfortable with their hair and their reasons for why we don't wear our hair. And it's really not productive when maybe people who have not had that experience or went through that, or non-black people try to antagonize and make fun of black women for that. I don't see what is productive about that. But because it is a real psychological thing, and if it was any other group of people would understand that, but because it's black women, it's like a joke. But anyway, and that's why I thought it was really important to talk about how a lot of people in general have went through, I'm sure even men have went through, and of all races, feeling uncomfortable with their natural hair. So this is a conversation that really a lot of different people can relate to, not just black women, but of course I'm centering black women in this discussion. But yeah, again, a lot of people in general, people of color and black women, are in severe denial about why their natural hair texture is not their default choice. And it's a lot more complicated than I think people are willing to let on. And I do think there takes a level of honesty within yourself, as well as about the society you live in, to work through that process. And it is a process that does not take just a few days, just a few months. It really, in my opinion, it will take your whole life, because you're constantly going to be having to push back on getting constant, opposing narratives, or constant opposing imagery to how you show up in society or you present. But luckily, things are starting to change, and because of more education of people of all groups, things are getting better. We do see a cultural shift in the attitudes towards curly hair and how it's viewed, and that can be attributed to black women and the natural hair movement. The reason why these us curly hair girls are seen as very desirable now is because of the natural hair movement. It's just period. Like, all this stuff coincided at once with also women of color being now seen as very beautiful, and like being very sought after for high fashion, as well as makeup campaigns. Like, all of these things are positive contributions that will impact the future generations of people of color and children just in general. So that is a positive thing. So being honest about this stuff with ourselves, it's a step in the right direction. So yeah, that's basically all I wanted y'all to take from this video. So get in the comment section, tell me what y'all thought about this podcast, and if you can relate to any of the topics discussed, no matter what race you are. Thanks for all the support. Bye bye. Peace.